When I was 15, I started dating this guy. We got pretty serious, and we loved each other. And we just felt like the next step was having sex. You know, it was just a mutual decision, and he was my first, and I was his first. Probably the third time we had sex, I got pregnant. I didn't know how to tell my mom, of course. I was sick all the time from being pregnant and from just hiding this from her. She walked into the room and asked me what I wanted for lunch. And I asked her to sit down. And she said, "What? I don't want to sit down." And I said, "Mom, sit down." And she sat down and said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I'm pregnant." And she said, "Yeah, right. What's wrong?" And I said, "No, seriously, I'm pregnant." And she said, "You better be lying." And I just started to cry. And she started to cry. And she told me that everything was going to be okay. She told me that she would help take care of the baby, that I could finish school, that she would quit work. And she went and got about 5 million pregnancy tests and made me take all of them. And they were positive. And my stepdad got home from work, and he just went through the roof when he found out. The next day, my mom just said, you know, he doesn't want to raise another child. We had talked about adoption. My boyfriend and I had talked about adoption when I first found out. He thought it was the right decision to make, and I was sort of on the fence. And I had heard about adoption. Growing up in the church, I knew abortion was not the answer for me. I just believed it was wrong, and that's not what I wanted for my child. I wanted a life for him. I wanted him to have more than I could give him and more than I ever had. When my mom brought it up again, we just started going through the process of the adoption. I was 2 weeks late with my son. My boyfriend was with me in the hospital, and they said, "You're in labor now." And they said, "Are you ready?" And I wasn't. I was in labor for 26 hours. I gave birth to a little boy, and we were with him in the room for 36 hours. He was with us. And you never know how much you can love anything until you hold your child. It's like being in love forever. And there was just so much joy and happiness for those few days. And the last day came, and I just remember holding him, and my boyfriend said, "You know, Heidi, we've got to go." And I just couldn't let him go. I physically could not let him go, and so he took him from me. And my son started to cry, and I couldn't control myself. I was just screaming, and they put me in the wheelchair, and he wheeled me out, and I just bawled the entire way through the hospital into the car. I wanted to go back and get him, but I also knew that as a 15-year-old, I had no way to support this child. I had no relationship with my mother at the time, and no one offered to help us. And so I knew this was the right decision. I knew that for him, it would mean a life, a good life. And that's all I wanted for him. I get pictures. At first it was every few months, and now it's every year. He's 13 years old now. We ended up breaking up. We were just kids, and we weren't very compatible. And a little while later, my husband and I started dating, and it was the same sort of situation. We sort of fell in love, and our next step, we started having sex, and we had been dating for about 1.5 years, and we were moving here, and we came here and just started going to church, and we just wanted a new beginning. And so I sat down and talked with him and said, "I don't think we should do this anymore." And he thought the same thing, and we just talked about it, and we agreed just to wait till we were married. So 3 years later, we were married, and we abstained till then. And it was just an amazing thing to be able to walk down that aisle and just walking to my husband feeling just pure and just in front of God. It was just an amazing feeling to be able to make that decision. And my friends thought I was nuts and crazy. I was an adult. This was stupid. We had already had sex. I was never going to be a virgin again. Everyone knew I had a child. But I just knew this was right, and I knew that was God's plan for my life. And I feel like because of those decisions, just giving my life to God, He's just completely blessed me. I have an amazing marriage. I have a wonderful husband that I do not deserve. And it's just God's grace. We just had a little boy who's 1.5 years old. And I just have an amazing life now, a life that I don't deserve, a life that maybe no one deserves. But because of God's grace, I have this life. You know, my story is not a story of a tragedy, of sadness. It's mixed in, but there's so much joy. It's the story of God's mercy and His forgiveness. Because of that, I have the life that I have today.